1, and we will begin the safety and security meeting. Mr. Danny Massey. No, Mr. Jay Whitehead is online. No, Mr. Richard Yost is online. And then Mr. Rebecca Kelly declined to have a conflict. And then Mr. Berger's on. Chief Wade Nichols is here. Stephen West, are you here?
Yes.
I got Stephen. I saw Director Ken Schulte check in. I saw Director John Craig check in. Director Rachel Arthur, are you present? All right. Director David Mendoza, I saw him check in. Miss Molly James, are you present? I think Molly's in there.
I'm here.
Okay, Molly's here. Miss Allison Hassel. Tammy Sophia. I saw Miss Rita Pintavalli check in. I saw Ian White check in. Mr. David Rayburn. Sarah Eddy. Chrissy Cooper. I saw Miss Stacey Clarkson check in. Leslie Cancino. Angie Yannick. Mr. Nathan Howard. Did somebody said speak up? Right here now, Mr. Mason Howard. Brian Sidebottom. Chief Chris Marini. Assistant Chief Kate Botnick. Chris Harvey. I saw Miss Virginia Dawsey check in. Michael Wagensback. I saw Mr. Rosa check in. Chief Motley. Rosser Strong. I saw David Rayburn check in. I see Stephen Reed. I saw he checked in. I saw Steve Solis. I saw checked in. Tara Fulton. I saw check in. Mike McCusker. I saw check in. Brett Ortiz. Claudia Sereno. Bella Martin. I saw Chief Finch check in from Clute, and Kerry R. and Stephen Upton from Clute will not be able to make it today. And DPS Cantu Manuel III. And last but not least, T. Bearden from Dow. And Ms. Hassel just checked in. Perfect. All right, with that, letting folks know that this meeting is being recorded and it will be posted on the BISD website in accordance with State of Texas Open Meetings Act rules, for those will be in place. I need to read this official statement before we get beginning because we do have a quorum. It says on March 16, 2020, Governor Greg Abbott granted a request from Attorney General Ken Paxton to temporarily suspend and limit number of open meeting laws to the extent necessary to allow telephonic or video conference meetings in response to COVID-19. In accordance with those suspended rules, require to certify the following: that meeting notice has been posted online for at least 72 hours. All members of the board are not gathered in an essential physical location, and who do have a quorum in attendance with this meeting in video conference or telephone. We are meeting using Google Meeting, which allows two-way communication for board members and staff. Regarding public comment, in lieu of public appearance of the board meeting, members of the public may submit written comments to the board regarding the agenda, the list of items, via email prior to the beginning of the meeting. All other meeting procedures will adhere to the board adopted procedures to the extent practical, and all audio recording in this meeting will be made available to the public at a later date. It'll be posted up on the website hopefully by tomorrow. All right, so get somebody dial in. If you just bear with me 1 second. All right, there we go. Got Chief Samaras is in the meeting. Go back and update this. All right, perfect. With that being said, we got that out of the way. Most everybody was sent a copy of the BISD Safety and Security Committee meeting agenda. We'll be following that this afternoon. Embedded in the agenda is the PowerPoint presentation. I'm going to pull it up here in a minute, and the meeting ID. The goal of the meeting is for us to be done by 5 o'clock. Hopefully, I've got a lot of information to go for you. If I go too quick, please either raise your hand or unmute yourself and ask a question. And with that, I will, in a difference to your time to get this thing going, I will present my screen to you so you can see what we've got. And if somebody could just unmute and let me know if they are able to see that screen.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So we got the safety and security update, February 8th, 2020, and we will start through the presentation again. I will hate to be a one-way conversation, so if you have questions, please stop me and I will try to fill those in for you. The goal is to just kind of update you on what BISD has been doing from the safety and security perspective since we last met. So Mr. Harvey is in. I'll be trying to multitask as I let folks in and do this presentation. All right, so to start with, give me 1 second. All right, the first agenda on the item is due to COVID-19. The district has made a decision to institute safety protocols at all sporting venues. What that basically means is we have safety and security staff that have been assigned to work at all the sporting events that are currently occurring in BISD, except for baseball and softball currently. Everything else, basketball to volleyball to football, currently right now, the main priority is soccer. We have safety specialists that are assigned to work the games, one on the visitor side, one on the home side, and one to assist the ticket folks coming in to make sure that we meet and maintain our threshold numbers at the stadium so we don't exceed the 30% capacity as dictated by UIL and TEA. And 2, that once those 30% capacity is inside of the stadium, that those individuals are social distancing from non-family members, at least 6 feet or more, and that those individuals are wearing their face covering to help prevent the spread of COVID-19. This is requiring an additional workload on the safety specialists because this is after hours activities for them after their shift. So they're being paid to do this at time and a half. But again, with all the sporting events that you have at the district level, we're, spread pretty thin, to get all these games covered, but they're doing a fantabulous job to make sure that we maintain that. So any questions on that? I know that's, for some folks in the community, that's a hot topic. It's an issue of wear a mask, not wear a mask. The district's protocol is based on UIL. For BISD, all stadium participants and students who are not actively participating in the event have to wear masks while they're in the stands or the facilities to help prevent the COVID-19.
Got a concern, Ty. No safety or security at baseball and softball.
Yes.
Okay. Are we going to have an administrator on duty?
Yes, there is a administrator on duty, and given the size of the venues, the decision has been made at this point to let the administrator on duty handle that. And then once they have done an assessment of a couple games come in, if it gets to be a problem, then we're going to have to see how we're going to reassess that and maybe try and get some safety and security specialists to work that. But at the present point, they're not assigned there.
But we will have police officer, correct?
Correct. There's police officers at every game. And then the only issue with the safety and security folks is we've only got about 12 of them, and trying to get them between extenuating circumstances and other things they have going on in their personal lives. It's very difficult to get every game covered. So we're doing the best we can to get some of them to work it, and if not, getting some folks voluntold that you got to be there because this is a safety issue for the district. So your schedule has to be modified. But that's a work in progress. So any other questions on that line? Okay, hearing none, we'll move to the next slide up, which is our Due to COVID-19, the state of Texas and the Texas School Safety Center has modified the drill requirements for the district, and they have taken it to the following. And it's just an update for your knowledge. They have moved the evacuation drills, which were previously known as your fire drills. Instead of one every month, if there's a school 10 days in session, they have moved it to a total of 4 drills per year. It will be 2 drills per semester. So there'll be a unobstructed drill in the fall semester, and then an obstructed drill. And then in the spring session, there will be an obstructed drill and an unobstructed drill. So they're only dropping it back to 4 so we don't have so much movement of the kids with COVID. They have changed the evacuation, which is for either a bomb threat or a gas leak, to 1 per school year. So the campuses only have to do 1 evacuation drill per school year for bomb or gas. For secure, or what was called lockout before, they changed the name to secure because it was confusing folks. So that just means if something happened outside the school, then all the doors and entryways have to be secured. They're only requiring 1 per school year. And then for lockdown, they're only requiring 2 per school year. And then for shelter in place, they're calling for 2 total per school year, 1 for a hazmat and 1 for a weather event. And then the holds and the reunification can be tabletop or talk-throughs. For COVID-19, BISD, with the proof that Texas School Safety Center has taken the stance that on our drills thus far, we're not getting kids in the lockdown or the secure or the except for the fire drills. We are holding them in their classroom in the regular settings, and the administrator is doing what we call a talk-through with the students, saying if this was a real lockdown, these are the expectations. We're doing this to prevent the students from being moved into close proximity where they're 6 feet closer to one another, which again doesn't help us with the spread of the COVID-19. So right now we're just doing talk-throughs in the campuses on those drills. So any questions on those? Okay, here in crickets, that means that we are not. So we're going to move on to the next slide, safety audits. Currently, the district has conducted with our auditors 5 of the 8 audits that are scheduled for this year. So far, Be Success Academy has been taken care of. The administration building has been taken care of. The TW-AUG has been done. Freeport Intermediate School has been done, and Ney Elementary has been done. The 3 remaining schools that are left are LLC, Rasco, and Griffith. And those are the dates. Below that is 2/19. Next Friday is LLC. March 5th is Rasco, and then rounding out the year, Madge Griffith will be in April 23rd. And then that will complete begin the audits for the year. In those audits thus far, these are the findings of all the campuses that we have been to. So thus far, the findings are the requesting for additional surveillance cameras capabilities in different locations within the campuses. There are only minor procedural or planning issues that have been found. And there has been a request for additional staffing. One was for, I believe it was a counselor at one campus, and another one was for behavioral interventionists at another. Those are all budgetary issues or issues that have to be decided by cabinet during the budget process. So the administrators have been instructed to ensure that they include those requests when they do their 2022-2023 budget. Any questions so far on that one? Okay, move on to additional findings. The safety audit continued. It was some maintenance and operational issues. Things were found. Those issues are one of which is like gates not securing properly, request for enhancement to their fire intrusion capabilities. You know, some campuses don't have intrusion alarms or fire system alarms in place, particularly like the administration building. And again, these are all funding issues that will have to be debated and decided by the cabinet at a later date to figure out what's in the best interest with the limited funding that they have to accomplish the things that were identified by the auditors. But the information has been put into a document and has been shared with the individuals that have the responsibility to have those conversations, and it will be marked in the file until we find a resolution. Any questions on those? Hearing none, we'll move over to the next section. Discussion on House Bill 496 and Stop the Bleed training. First of all, the Stop the Bleed training, we have currently about 1,500 staff and students have already been trained in Stop the Bleed. But due to COVID-19, we had to re-strategize our training protocols, and we're now moving to training the students or the staff in smaller groups. So we maintain that 10 people or less, 6 feet or more, and, facial coverings on. But again, the district is positioned to be well ahead of the TEA and Texas School Safety Center requirements for the Stop the Bleed training, because we had a good platform last year and we really got ahead of this. So, we're still making progress, and we can show, if audited, that, we're using our resources in a safe and current fashion to make sure that we move in that direction to meet that mandate from them. They have not come back and said that we had a timeline to get this done. It was supposed to have been last year by the end of the school year, but due to our extended spring break and COVID, that didn't happen. So I think they've got a lot of other priorities. So this is not a major one at the moment, but the district continues to move forward to train folks as we can. Questions on that one? Hearing none, move to the next one. The TEA grant vestibule hardening project, I'm happy to report, is complete. All the campuses except for Brazosport and Stephen F. Austin's have had their vestibules hardened with 15 mil film that's not bulletproof, but it's bullet resistant. So if somebody tries to get through the front entrance using a weapon to shoot through it, the bullet will go through, but the glass will not shatter, and it's going to take the person anywhere from the original estimate was about 8 minutes, but with the new film that we've got, it's going to take them about 15 minutes to get through that by beating on it, even if they continually shoot at it. But by that time, our partners and our BISD police department would be on the scene to extricate or do whatever they need to do to bring that event to an end. So we're on a roll there. I need to just back up for 1 second. I forgot to mention one thing when we discussed to Stop the Bleed. I need to give a shout out to the Lake Jackson EMS division, Chief Samarini and his assistant chief. Due to their partnerships with BISD, we were able to get 1,000 units of Stop the Bleed kits at their cost, which saved the district a considerable amount of money. And if it were not for that partnership, that process would not have happened. So Chief, Lake Jackson EMS, City of Lake Jackson, the BISD, tips our hats off to you for that generous effort on your behalf to ensure the safety of our students. All right, moving to the next slide. I know last time we met, we talked about the radio project. I'm happy to report that on phase 2 of the radio project is the following. The district-wide radio system is complete. We now have 4 repeaters that are strategically located throughout the district, which will give the district a district-wide radio system where, in an event of emergency or for communications purposes, Mr. Massey can push one button and talk to all of his administrators on all of his campuses, and talk to all of the groundskeepers that are on the outside of the campuses, and for the maintenance and operation folks to be able to push one button and talk to their lead individual that's out in the field with their trucks. The second part of that was we had to restore the operation radio tower at the Operation and Maintenance Center. I'm happy to report that project has been completed. The tower has been fixed, the antenna has been lifted, and the tower is now ready to be functional. The next phase to finalize the project is to have the 80 radios that are already programmed and are sitting in Houston and ready to be deployed, and the 73 new bus radios that need to be put on our new bus fleet are ready to be deployed. This deployment will happen the week of spring break. We chose to do the week of spring break so it would not have a disruption to our normal day-to-day operation activities. Once those radios are deployed, they will be distributed to 40 will go to the administration, and then 40 of them will go to maintenance and ops and Mr. Arthur's crew to make sure that they've got adequate communications. So hopefully by time end of spring break, we should have those out and we should be able to move forward with getting this radio project out. Any questions on that one? Okay, hearing none, we'll move.
Hey, Ty.
Yes, I heard somebody pop in.
Yeah, sorry. It's Chris Harvey, the fire chief in Lake Jackson. I know about a year ago, I asked about the BDAs in the schools. And being as you're on the radio topic, maybe Chief Nichols can answer the question. But do you know if we have those placed in the new build for Brazosport, and then if we have anything like that in the LJI or any other schools that may be affected by the local area fire, EMS, and police department, so that we have the capability of actually hitting our tower? And in this case, it sits at Dude Payne's precinct 1 yard, so that we have that capability on the repeater to get out of the schools on our radios, not necessarily the school district's radios, as required by state law.
Correct, Chief. That is a project that is still ongoing. We have deployed a BDA in the administration building so they can get a read of how functional that is. And as we move forward, I know that's a requirement by state law that we would be working to find a resolution in the funding source for. And again, from the process, again, we'll have to go to cabinet for them to have the discussions about, where's the priority and where's the funding going to come from. But yes, we know we have gaps in buildings. We've already identified and had our police chief Wade Nichols officers go and identify areas where there are gaps where we can't get out, so we can be able to, have a data source and a backing up to say, this is a need and not just a want.
Awesome. Thanks, sir.
Yes, sir. Any questions on the radio project before I move forward? Alrighty, moving to the next one. The training we were attempting to, I guess if you remember last year, the partners in the region came together and we're going to try and do a mass casualty event in conjunction with a railroad crossing, and we're going to be at Clute Intermediate School, and we're going to actually hold it over at the Clute EMS training room. And the goal of the training was to bring all the partners together to see how we would react and come together to respond to either a train event or a mass casualty event near a school. Unfortunately, due to COVID-19, that was tabled, and it is still tabled until we can get out of this COVID, where we can come back together and begin putting the final touches on that plan. Next issue is up. As I remember, I briefed you last time that the district had applied for a USDOJ COPS grant from the School Prevention of Violence in Schools. We applied for $500,000. We did not get the whole amount, but we were only one of 16 schools in the entire state of Texas that got an award. So we were awarded $213,000 to enhance our surveillance platform, which means about 100 additional cameras in our common areas. And the common areas is defined as your front entrances, your cafeteria areas, your areas where kids gather, like in the gyms or in the hallways where mass gathering going like towards the bathrooms, not inside the bathrooms, but just in the areas. That award has taken place. The money has been awarded. Technology, Mr. Mendoza and his crew is trying to figure out, okay, what's the best use of that money and what's the best way to go about deploying those cameras. So that's a progress ongoing. But just know that we did get the $213,000 out of the $500 we applied for. Any questions on that one? Hearing none, move to the next one. This was a kind of a big one. This has kind of ate up most of our time. The TEA and the Texas School Safety Center EOP Emergency Operations Plan Audit. The center has recently stood up at the end of last year after Santa Fe, a division that is solely responsible for looking at all school districts, EOPs, and to make sure that they have all the proper annexes and things in place for every and all hazards emergencies. That unit did its first cut at, they said, the 10,000 foot kind of level, just seeing how the plans looked out. We got information from them saying that, we needed to make some adjustments to our plans because it was not everything that was needed in the plans were in our plans, but our plans were not in the formatting that they wanted. So they wanted all the information segmented by specific areas. So I went back through with the help of the staff and Mr. Whitehead and Chief Nichols and our community partners, and kind of cut this back up. Miss Molly James and Miss Hasso and Dr. Pelton. So what we now have is an active shooter annex, a district EOP annex, a communications annex, a continuity operation annex, a direction and control annex, a public information annex, an evacuation annex, a hazardous material annex, a medical annex, a law enforcement annex, a pandemic annex, and then a reunification annex. So all those annexes have been reconstituted, have been sent to Texas School Safety Center and TEA to see if they need anything else. And they say, if you don't hear anything, that's good news. And I hadn't heard anything. So I'm just assuming that hopefully the annexes are good, because we put a lot of work into those. So again, any questions on that? Now, I know that our community partners, we will be sharing. You already have our EOPs, which are the ones, they are fine. The things that Texas School Safety Center and TEA did were more procedural, that were toward district and not towards the overall plan of our responders responding to an event. So what you have with you that Chief Wade gave you is up to date and the most accurate thing that we have in place. So hearing no questions there, go on to Stop the Bleed kits again. So I needed to go over this again. I know I kind of gave the chiefs from Lake Jackson the kudos for all the help that they gave us, but this is what we were able to do. We had 1,000 units of Stop the Bleed kits, emergency blankets, flashlights, first aid kits, and other assorted sundry that was related to emergency preparedness. And to accomplish that, the students from Miss Rita Pentavalley from Beewood, she graciously sent over students who had met their requirements on a testing day. So about 50 of them showed up. We had what we call go buckets, which are those 5-gallon commander buckets you buy from Lowe's. We lined them out. We put an assembly line, and those 50 kids got to work and assembled all those kits. All those kits have been assembled. Those kits have been distributed to all of our secondary campuses for every classroom. And then the remaining kits that were needed in the other schools, the elementary schools, they were sent a quantity to put into their stash for use on their campuses. So every secondary campus where an event probably will take place has a Stop the Bleed kit and bucket, all that stuff I just talked about, in their classrooms. And all the elementaries have a large quantity of those same kits that have been sent to them to deploy at their discretion. And again, that would not have happened if it was not for Lake Jackson EMS willing to step up to the plate and buy those things for the district, and then the district reimbursing the funding for making that happen, which saved us a considerable amount of money. So any questions on that? Seeing none, we'll move to the next one. And again, a big thank you to our community partners. Because of COVID-19, the district had to be a little bit creative and innovative on the things that they're doing. So we now have the capability to do rapid COVID tests for our employees at the Be Success Academy. And again, this new model gives the district the ability to see if staff is, positive or not positive, things come up. But it presented a challenge for the district and be able to dispose of what is now called medical waste, because the kits that they're using have to be disposed medically. And the partners at Lake Jackson, Clute EMS, and Freeport EMS have all stepped up and said, hey, send us your stuff. we'll try and help you out to the degree we can. If it gets to be, more cumbersome and complicated or costs more money than we think, then we'll revisit that. But at the present moment, they're helping us manage this medical waste that we don't have a protocol set up to deal with. So again, thank you very much. Lake Jackson, Freeport, and please. Any questions on that?
Hi, this
Yes.
is Steve. This is Steve Solis.
Yes.
I was just looking at the data for the district, and I think in general the anticipated spike due to the cold and flu season on COVID kind of follows that. But is the administration doing anything with the data that you're collecting there? And what I mean specifically, I know that a couple of the schools, the high school and Best Branding, have some of the larger numbers. So is there anything you're doing with respect to seeing if this is a concentration of illness or what with the data? Can you comment on that?
I will probably defer to Miss Molly James if she's on the line, and Mr. Whitehead, because I know they meet daily to go over those numbers.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
I'll start and let Ms. James jump in. Yeah, absolutely. We track the data. We meet daily and we look for concentrated areas. We also look for spread being campus spread or at home spread. And then we've taken some extra precautions with if we see a concentrated area with quarantining. We extend the quarantine to the entire class, even though they may not be a close contact student. So we do step up the quarantine levels if we do see a spread. And that's just a few of the things we do. Molly, you want to add to that?
No, I think that's it. We're looking for where the most likely exposure came from, and then we try to link it to all of our cases.
Yeah, our campus teams are tasked with doing contact tracing for anytime we get the feedback that we do have a COVID positive case, and that's all dependent upon the individual's reporting. But percentage-wise, we're still under 1% as a district overall, and we're happy that we're able to stay open. But we did have to close LJI for 1 week right prior to the Christmas break, because we saw a spread in a particular area and it was impacting the campus. But overall, we did peak a few days ago, and we're seeing a little bit of a decline over the last couple of days. We're going down, and we're very, very excited about that. We've kind of seen some more movement at the lower grade levels. Originally, it was mostly at secondary. We have seen, similar to statewide, we're seeing some increased numbers at the elementary, and Brandon is a little bit of a hot spot right now. So we're doing some additional mitigation at Brandon, as well as they're having optional quarantine for the entire class, not just identified individuals, but entire classes that parents are being notified for optional quarantine for larger groups. So hopefully we will not see any more acceleration. And we did see it at Griffith. It came up and it went back down. So we hope it's a bubble, but if not, then we'll have to take additional measures.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Solis. Any other questions on that one? And I think what Mr. Solis is referring to is in your agenda, there's a link to the COVID dashboard that the district updates daily. And just for those, if you didn't have a chance to look at it, so right now our total numbers for students is 99. Our total number for staff is 26. And that gives us a total of 125. And if you look at that for 125 total, that gives us 13,300 staff and students. So when you do the math, and again, as Mr. Whitehead said, that's less than 1% of total positivity rate. So the district is still doing pretty good at that direction. So moving on to the next slide, the reunification protocols and equipment. You needed, again, I think we talked about last year that there was some bond money that was allocated to do some reunification supplies and equipment. I'm happy to report that the trailer to haul all this stuff around, if we have to do a mass reunification at a site, so if a school has to be relocated to another school or to a secondary or tertiary site, we have all the equipment we need to be put on that trailer. So the trailer's purchased, it's en route to us. As soon as it gets here, all the equipment that I've been working on for about the last 6 months has been compiled and it's just waiting for someplace to go so I can get it out of my office. And then all our plans have been updated and reinvigorated and reconstituted and have been sent back out to the campuses. And we're now starting the process of doing trainings or tabletop or discussions with the staff so they can begin to clearly identify what their roles, responsibilities, and job tasks are if we go to this. And then the final piece is secondary and tertiary sites have been identified. So normally the schools will go to their feeder pattern school, which is either Lake Jackson, Freeport, Clute Intermediate, and Brazosport. And if something gets complicated or compromised on those events, then we have our local churches, we have MOUs with them to make sure that we can use their facilities. And we even went so far to the point to have the churches mapped out and everything lined out where everybody goes. So it will not be a surprise if we get there. So that's still a work in progress, but we made significant grounds on that. And then the last thing I got up is I think the last time we talked about, there was a command module integration project or EVI that was that information I'm happy to report is that the specification for the integration of the multiple system one platform has been completed. The interview of 4 potential vendors has been done by the technology department and the business office, and the award or contract is pending approval through the technology and business office as they finish finalizing the strategizing what they need to do to pull the trigger on that. So any questions on that one? Hearing none, I'll move us to our last slide, which is the safety and security update. Anybody have any further questions before I call this meeting to adjourn? All right, here in silence, so just letting you know that our next meeting is May 10th, 2021 at 4 p.m. I'm hoping we'll be through COVID and we can have a face-to-face meeting, but if not, I will send out the meeting notices, the agenda, and the PowerPoint presentation, again, like I did this time, so you have a chance to review it before the meeting. And again, once the meeting is concluded, if something pops in your brain, say, oh man, I wish I'd asked that, just shoot me an email or give me a phone call, then I'll begin to look at it and get an answer back to you. So, hate to make this a one-sided a talking head to you, but I just want to kind of update everybody on everything we had. And with that, I would say everybody have a good evening.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good job.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Todd.